So you are thinking about moving to Nashville, Tennessee. Me and Mitzi are not from here, so you're in luck. You're gonna hear a real perspective today of what it's like to actually move, not only to Tennessee, but the South, the hospitality, the traffic, the school zones, meeting people. It's difficult. So what we want to do is give you a real perspective, what you can expect when moving here to Nashville, Tennessee. So with that being said, my name is Jackson Wilkie, and
I'm Mitzi Dela Cruz.
that's right. So we are the Living in Nashville, Tennessee team. We do all things relocation. We love it. Today, we're going to be talking about, you might want to avoid moving to Nashville, Tennessee if you can't handle these 7 things. So the last one is what we're going to do is we're going to take probably the most personal one, like adjusting here. You do not want to miss it. Trust me. But Mitzi, number 1, we got to start with the weather. I know you're from California. The humidity here, it can come up and bite you and sting you. What's it like?
Okay, so I think I have a little bit of a weird perspective, and I'll tell you why. Because I actually like the humidity. I know, crazy. My husband definitely does not like the humidity. He doesn't like, he's out and about moving around, and, he doesn't like to be like shirt drenched by the time he gets done doing what he's doing. But for me, it's like a warm hug. I know that sounds so silly. My hair doesn't like the humidity, but I love it. But I have definitely been to more humid places. So like, for example, Texas, Florida, some of these other states that I visited are definitely more humid. So for me, it's not a problem, but some people will complain. I just don't think it's that big of a deal, honestly.
Perfect. So the reason that we did humidity and not weather is because the majority of the weather here is pretty favorable. I come from North Idaho, the Northwest. I even lived in the Portland, Oregon area for a while, and it's just cold a lot of times. I mean, and we were dealing with snow 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months out of the year. So for me to be able to live 80-90% of my life in shorts and t-shirts, it's really amazing to me. I will give you a little bit of an insight though, especially for you females, from my wife's perspective. With the humidity, it can really peak up and get hot. And she says the biggest change for her was like her perishables, things in her car, like lipsticks and chapstick. They just like melt. They go crazy. I see you nod your head, Mitch.
Well, but I'll tell you, I come from Sacramento.
Okay.
So, I mean, that heat is real. It is hot. And so I'm already used to not being able to leave those items in my car. I'm going to tell you a really funny story, and you're probably going to just crack up. So I was doing some meal prepping, and I had like a little bag in my car of some things that I was going to eat on the go, and I left an avocado in my car. Okay, so weird, right? So anyway, I leave it in there for like 24 hours. I get it out of my car, I bring it in the house, and then I went to cut it open, and it had like sprouted.
A real sprout.
A real sprout. I kid you not, real talk. I have it planted right now in like a little planter, and it's literally like coming up. And I have tried to grow avocados from seeds for like so many times. Nothing ever happened. And yeah, apparently the key is to leave it in your car when it's hot and humid. And then next thing you know, you got like a little avocado tree.
Oh my gosh. Who would have thunk it? You can actually grow avocados in your car here in Nashville. So that's a bonus. But for real, the reason we said we get a lot of people moving, from the north, even, Canada, some of those areas, and they always bring up how hot, how humid. It just is. But you know what? It's a perception thing too. When you come from the cold, it's just nice to be warm all the time. So we're going to jump right into number 2. I think this was probably my biggest worry coming from North Idaho. Like, we don't have like snakes or anything. And when you talk about just like bugs, and the thing about the South too is it's way greener, it's thicker, there's more trees than you're ever going to imagine. So there's just more bugs and like spider webs and stuff. What's been your, big change? And from California, maybe it's not as big of a deal.
Well, so as far as like mosquitoes, for example, where I come from, as soon as the weather gets a little warm, there's mosquitoes. They're out in full force. So I'm used to that, and they love me. So, I'm constantly getting bit and stuff like that. That's normal for me. But what I wasn't prepared for is like the cicadas, for example. Cicadas come out, and they are out about, 4 or 5 weeks out of the year, usually. And then different broods like come out at different times. It's so weird. And then it sounds like a rattlesnake in the tree. Like it's just this constant buzzing sound, which that was different. And obviously there are some other spiders coming from where I come from, things like brown recluse. That's not really big of an issue where I'm from, but we see more like black widows and things like that. But yeah, here, you've got bugs. They're different bugs. There's more bugs. There's lightning bugs. Love those. Love watching my kids chase the lightning bugs. And so yeah, there's different critters, but you got those everywhere.
Yeah, so for me, the biggest adjustment when you said cicadas, I'd never heard of a cicada, and So there's two things about cicadas that may trigger you a little bit. One is the snakes. It's their favorite food. So you may see a few more snakes during the cicada season. And then there's what I learned is like a cicada killer or a cicada eater. And it's a bee. It's like the size of this freaking microphone right here. It flies around, but they actually don't sting you or hurt you. But the bugs for real are something. Sometimes they're just a little bit bigger down here. I think I've seen some bees and some hornets before that have like definition in their legs. They're so big. So it's just something you will get used to. And you will get used to it. I don't just say that. I remember coming to the South and you're just kind of like looking everywhere. Like, what am I going to step on? What am I going to see? And then you just kind of get over it. So I don't know where you guys are coming from. In fact, what would be cool is to comment down below, where are you guys moving from? And maybe what are you most worried about? You know, not only here in Nashville, Tennessee, but just Tennessee and the South. And again, we're going to get to more of like that personal, what it's like to be here and the emotions. So make sure you stay tuned to that. And we also welcome you guys to subscribe to this channel. We're doing videos every single week about what it's like to move, live, work, relocate here to the Nashville area. And you do not want to miss those. We actually get a ton of calls every single day from you guys. There's our contact information. Just pause the video, do what you have to do. We absolutely love when you guys reach out. Mitzi, we getting into number 3, and it's actually Southern hospitality. People are like, why would that be a bad thing here? But really with the Southern hospitality, the biggest shocker to me, I never went to the South. I never grew up in the South. And you know, you can't go political, you can't, but like the conservatism, it doesn't mean it's political by any means. It's just the way of life down here. There is a church on every block and you're going to meet the happiest, friendliest people. If you don't like friendly people, which we actually hear like, oh, I don't like everybody saying hi to me. You're going to hear that every day. And then they're going to invite you to church. And we've actually made some of our best friends that way. What about you?
Yeah. So coming from California, everything is just go, 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 go. And especially being a real estate agent and having had, you know, over a decade of experience in California, we're expected to be at the other end of our phone at every point and turn, literally from sun up to sundown, Saturdays, Sundays, nights, weekends, doesn't matter. But once I moved out here, one of the best things for me was actually being able to slow down. People do not honk their horns. They're just not in a hurry. So I'd much rather actually be late somewhere, which I've just learned to leave a little earlier, than to actually rush someone. So like if I'm in a store, for example, I'm not showing up at the register on my phone. I'm not rushing anyone or being in a hurry, because the reality is just people are just not in a hurry. People are friendly. They want to chit chat. They're neighborly. They're going to show up at your door once you close on your home, you know, with cookies and things like that. And just expect that. For me, it's been wonderful because it's taught me how to slow down enough to really just enjoy life a little more.
Yeah. So for me, it was actually my biggest attractant, believe it or not. Like, when my wife and I decided really to come down to the South and to Tennessee, and I'm actually going to give you a shocking reveal to this as well, because there's a different side of it, but it was just the overwhelmingness of people just like, how are you? Hey, come to my barbecue, and that we love, you know, so I get it. There's a lot of this world who just kind of wants to be left alone. There's plenty of space for that in Tennessee as well, but there's also a part of Tennessee that's just so old school, right? And so that Southern hospitality and just the Southern culture, you have to understand that some of these properties and these homes and these homesteads have been there since Grandpappy got it in the Civil War, you know, so they're never giving up on it. It's their place, and you don't disrupt that. So you can kind of see a negative side of these things too, where people are like over the top proud of their areas. So regardless, you know, you move down here, it's a real culture shock. It's something that, you know, not being from Tennessee or the South, that I wasn't really aware of, but you know, I'm definitely adapting to it. Now, the next one you will never adapt to, and it may leave a mess in your shorts. In fact, we were filming the other day and this thunder strike hits. Holy cow, I thought the whole house was coming down. I think I cussed in the video. Like, it hits you in the heart. But what about the storms here, Mitzi?
Okay, again, I'm you know what? Some people are like, you're always so positive. Yes, I am. Because I'm always looking at the other angle of things, of, you know, like what it is that is positive about every situation. I love to sit on my porch. I've got a beautiful Cape Cod style home, and I love to sit on my front porch and watch the storms. The electricity or the lightning, the thunder is all just so magnetic and so amazing. I've got a dog that is not used to the storms, and poor thing, she hides in the bathtub. She's whimpering the whole time. My heart goes out, but my other two dogs are not bothered. But all that to say, I personally love it. The one thing I will say is obviously there's tornadoes. So for those of you that are concerned about tornadoes, we get that question all the time. What about tornadoes? And it can be a little bit of a concern for people. I mean, they are a very real thing. And I think I was just watching this report yesterday. There's been 80 tornado warnings so far this year in 2025.
A few years off.
Yeah, a couple years. But all that to say, again, we've got somewhere safe in our home to go. And I think that if that's a major concern, then we can look at either, basement style homes or storm shelters. They do have those that you can attach to your inside of your garage or whatnot. But yeah, it's just part of it. Wherever you're coming from, there's natural disasters. They're happening everywhere. For us in California, everyone talks about earthquakes, but I mean, honestly, that wasn't really the concern. It was more like the fires and things of that nature that we were battling. But yeah, I mean, you're going to deal with that type of thing anywhere.
So storms for me, again, coming again from the Northwest was actually a shock. That was one of the biggest shocks to me, because if we had like a downpour, and everybody thinks the Northwest, even when we lived in like Beaverton, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and it rains every single day and it's just nasty. It really doesn't. It just drizzles in the morning. It's just gray. It doesn't like absolutely dump. In fact, I looked it up one day. I'm like, the average amount of rainfall in Portland, Oregon is actually less than most of these southern states, but it just does it in like one day. So that was the shock to me, is when it rains here, it just like floods, and me and my kids and my family, we'll drive to like, different states, go to Mississippi or Texas or Florida. And when it rains, guys, pull over. Just like it's coming down, and around your house, it's just going to fill up with water. So like, those are things when these storms come and they're nasty and the thunderstorm, just slow down, just move over, pause, and let it go by. And that's the crazy part. The other part about it is once that rainstorm goes, especially in the summer, like right now, June, July, about 5 minutes later, it's going to be humid. It is going to be steamy. Yep. It's going to be hot. That is the most humid I've ever felt in my life. So that's kind of what the storms are all about. Next up, Mitzi, you're going to be driving a lot. Now, this is kind of a pro and a con, and I don't think people truly understand what I mean by this, because we go to these communities, you find these pocket communities. I don't even know how you find them, and that's why you're the GOAT. But sometimes you're driving 20 minutes through a highway with nothing but just like farms and ranches. Like, you can get lost. You're always on windy roads. But what is really the driving? What was the big change for you?
Yeah, so where I'm from, there's this urban sprawl that really, you see a connection of city after city after city. And you might have some new developments, but most of them are infill projects. So where they're just repurposing land or tearing down homes and building new homes in that area. Here, you still have a fraction of the people that you have in some of these other states that are big feeder markets for us, like New York, like California. And so all that to say, you don't have this big urban sprawl. And I love the fact that the topography actually limits the amount of new developments that can be built in a certain area. So it really gives you that space to kind of stretch out. But to your point, especially being a realtor and being a relocation specialist, I am going here, there, everywhere. My team is phenomenal. I've got team members that are placed in different areas in the Middle Tennessee area intentionally, because we want to really cover that whole geographical area. And you can drive, an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes to get from one end of the Nashville proper all the way up to the top end when you're talking about the suburbs and whatnot that are surrounding. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a pro and a con. It depends on how you look at it and kind of where you're working and what's important to you as far as where you need to get.
So some people will just say, I couldn't even imagine driving 20, 30 minutes to work in the beautiful country and the winding hills. But there is a time where it kind of gets a little bit old. And here's the big kicker. I didn't realize how, because my kids get car sick a lot. They're always car sick because the roads are so windy. So you got to learn, and that could be something that really, is a deterrent for you. So guys, there's nothing more important than reaching out and after hearing some of these things, bring them up to Mitzi and the team, because we can, help you avoid that, get you closer to highways and stuff, but still out in the country enough. Next up is probably one of the most important, especially with one of our clients, and it's the school zones, county lines, and zoning headaches. Get into it.
Yeah, so one of the things that was different for me moving out here is that schools provide bus service no matter what. So public schools have to provide bus service. For me in California, I was paying hundreds of dollars every single semester for my kids to be bused, even when I was a single mom on a fixed income and qualified for some lower rates and things like that. I was still paying just exorbitant amounts. So it's nice here. The kids are able to be bused, or you can, like what I was doing when we first moved out here was more of a hybrid, where I would send my kids, or I would take my kids to school in the morning, and then I would send them on the bus in the afternoon when I was out slaying dragons and selling real estate. But, as far as like schools are concerned, there is quite a bit of differentiation between different schools, even within sometimes the same school district. So it is so important to really pay attention to your zoning. It is not really easy to move your kids around. You may have a school that you prefer, and within that district, you can get oftentimes some variations, so you can move your kids, but you won't have the ability to bus, obviously. But even with my family, navigating the differences between owning 2 properties within 2 different counties and wanting my kids to go to a certain school, and actually, having to navigate that process with the school district, because I was told basically my kids needed to go to school where we were actually living while we're in the middle of this big remodel. And that wasn't the school that I wanted them to attend. So just going back and forth, and then really seeing what that weather looks like, especially in the winter, when you do have icy conditions, snow, when you're battling, flooding and things like that, and you're having to drive your kids from one county to the other, that can really be very eye-opening as far as like why the school district wants you to actually have your kids at the school that are nearby your home. And so definitely one of the most important things, and actually I was talking to one of our relocation clients from Canada this morning, and they're wanting to, buy a house, renovate the house, and then move to their forever home, so they get a little sweat equity while this market is kind of in transition. And one of the things that I was pointing out to them is, if you want to minimize disruption to your kids, let's get your project home and your forever home in that same area. So let's not just jump in and just buy something kind of willy-nilly, because you want to make sure that you are getting your kids settled in the area and the district where you really want them to be.
Yep, that's going to play one of the biggest roles in you moving here. And some of you may not have kids, so the kids have grown up and moved. We also know areas to where you can live close to them, or where you can kind of avoid some of that stuff too. Best bang for your buck. I don't know if there's any better reason, especially you families out there, to reach out, to have those conversations. I know we show some amazing homes. I know you look online, you see amazing homes, but guys, it comes down to the area first and foremost. And we've heard it, in the past and seen it, people can move to the wrong area, and that's just what you really want to avoid. So again, we do want you guys to reach out days, nights, weekends. We love it more than anything. We want you guys to pick the right spot before the house. But last but not least, this is the most difficult one. Mitzi, this is a good old boy network down here. And I'm from North Idaho, and I guess I just took it for granted. I knew every single person there.
Yep.
But when you move to a new area, you don't. And down here in the Nashville area, first of all, you got to say vols and boroughs and all that. You got to know people, and I don't know if there's a person who's adapted quicker than you, Mitzi, to know, literally, everybody here from an outsider. So what are some tips for people to learn about like how to meet other people? And secondly, is that something you help with people when they transition here?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. I was actually having that same conversation with our new clients coming from Canada this morning, because they have a landscaping business. They do hardscape, all these things. And so they're wondering how quickly they're going to be able to rebuild their business. I think it's one of those things where when you're facing head on, okay, we are not from here. We're moving from outside of the area. We are here to embrace the culture. We are here to be a part of the community, to give back, to really just infiltrate the community in a positive way. I think that's really what it is. I think, I hear so many people, especially coming from like California, they'll say things like, well, I'm from the West Coast, to kind of like shy away from the fact, because California is the buzzword right now as far as, people moving here in droves from that area. And I would just say, embrace it. I mean, the reality is, I know that I come from an area where things are a lot different, but especially with rebuilding my real estate business and things like that, I also come from an area where you've got to hustle, you've got to grind. You can't necessarily rely on relationships, because, everybody knows 10, 20 realtors. So, having had to build my business from scratch very organically in California, and then having all of my California clients, they're still reaching out. My team in California is still servicing my clients in Sacramento. It's phenomenal. And I know that in order to achieve those same results here, the last thing that I was going to do is come here and try to change things, or here's how we did in California, or anything like that. It was more like, hey, I'm here. How can I help? What can I do to really be part of the community, to adjust to the way of life here instead of wanting to change or modify anything, and just really just be a light? I mean,
yeah, no, it's you gotta just actually own who you are and push yourself sometimes to go out and try things. You're gonna get asked to do things, and I think one thing I want to add before we wrap this up, sometimes the overflowing positivity that comes from, you know, us especially, is because we moved here. We don't have that locals perspective where we only like where we live and then we hate everything else. So we get to understand exactly what you're feeling, and when you say things or what you like or don't like it, we know places that are going to fit you better, but we come from a different perspective because we're not from here. So it is really exciting to be here. There's so many incredible things to do and so many incredible people. So we know that you're going to enjoy it as well, but you won't if you move to the wrong area. So that's where we really want you guys to use that number and that email that you see down at the bottom. Guys, we absolutely love it. We're going to help you move here. We're going to help you find that perfect spot. The only way to do it is to contact us, and make sure you check out a bunch of our other videos and vlogs of Nashville. And in fact, this is an entire playlist right here of some of the most incredible areas to live in the Nashville suburbs. Go check that out right there.